Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Living Waters channel where faith meets with inspiration. And today we'll be doing a book review titled The Spiritual Man by Watchman Nee. You can see it's a very a bulky book. And this has like 10 parts. But today I'll be doing just the part one. I find it the knowledge there, it's basic for everybody. Everybody will be able to cope, and you can, if you love the book, you can go look out for the book. What we just do basically is to spy you up to go for the things that we'll get to show you here. And so today, I will be taking the part one of the book, and it's a very interesting book, and I found some things very, very important there. It gets to divide. I have my personal jottings here from the book, The Spiritual Man. And so I will be reading from my book here, my jottings here. And the aspect I'll be starting from in the part one of the book, the first chapter of the part one of the book. And this aspect talks about, gets to divide the body, the soul, and the spirit. And so one major point here, he told us that the body make us to be world conscious. That means we can have contact with the material world. And the soul is the one that gives us the self-consciousness. That's the seat of your intellect. And the spirit makes us to be God conscious. That is, we can have communion with God, and we can have a contact or interface with the spiritual world. And so God dwells in the spirit, and so the soul is the one that is in between. And so if the spirit wants to communicate with the body, it will get to pass through the medium of the soul. And so the soul is like the interface between the spiritual and the physical. And so it's the interface between the spirit and the body. So if your spirit want to communicate with the body, it will come through the soul. It will get the message across to the soul, and the soul will get it across to the body. That's the major basic concept that he told us in that aspect of the book. But further, he tries to break down and reveal to all the content or the faculty or the organs that are in the spirit, that are in the soul and the body. But today, because of our time, I'll be doing just the spirit and the soul, because these are the inner man, like it's the man himself. It's not your physical body that is the man himself, but the spirit that is the inner man and the soul. And so, because of the fall of man, the soul now has dominion over the body. But what God created was that the spirit will have dominion over the total man. And so, he divides the spirit into the conscience, the intuition, and the communion. That's what it divides the spirit into: the conscience, the intuition, and the communion. Under the spirit, the component of the spirit, basically the human spirit now, we have the conscience, the intuition, and the communion. And under the soul, in the soul, we have the will, that's the volition, we have the mind, and we have, let me check my book here, the emotion. And so on this, he divided the spirit into the conscience, intuition, and the communion. And under the conscience, he said that's the discerning organ. Is the discerning organ is the one that distinguishes between right and wrong. Is the judge. Is the one that is in your heart that scold you when you are doing what is wrong and what is right. And also the intuition, he said this is direct sensing organ, is where the spirit of the Lord himself pass messages across to us. That's where it teaches us. The Bible made us understand that you need not anyone to teach you, because you have the unction of the Holy One. So there is that education of the Holy Spirit that comes onto us, and this is where the education of the Holy Spirit comes onto us on our intuition. And basically, communion, what our communion does is the worship organ. Is the one that helps us to worship God appropriately. And so that's where we can worship God and render a worship that is acceptable unto God. Two things is very important. As believers, we must pay a due consciousness to the voice of the intuition and the teaching, the voice of conscience and the teaching of intuition. The voice of conscience and the teaching of intuition. And so I'll be moving to the soul because of our time. The soul is the seat of our personality. Is the seat of our personality. Basically, everything, every knowledge you acquire is rooted on the soil of your soul. Every knowledge you acquire is on the soil of your soul. And so that's the seat of man's personality. And what is the scope or the works of the soul? Basically, the intellect, that's where your intellect is, your thoughts, your ideas, your love, emotion, discernment, choice, decision, and all of those things are in the soul. So all these various experience are in the soul. And so he divided it into three faculties. He said your will, that is the volition, that the willingness, your willingness to do something or your unwillingness to do something. Basically we have our willingness towards our will. I want to do these things. It's to you. And so he said that's the instrument for such decision and the power of choice. And he further talk about mind. And he said mind is the instrument of our thoughts. When you think about doing something, and all of that is in your mind, and even your knowledge, every knowledge you acquire, that's where it is, and so that's where your mind is, and your mind is not here, is on your earth here. And so the emotion is also rooted in the soul. And what does the emotion does? The likes, your dislikes, your expression of love, hatred, feeling of joy, and all of those things is in the emotion. And so that's the much we can take on this book review for this second part. If time permits us, and if we see that there's need to also review some other part of the book, we'll get it across to you. But with this knowledge I've provided from this book, I want you to get the book. There are soft copy of the book online. You can get it and read it yourself. Thank you, and God bless you.